All right, we back in here after a tough defeat to Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena in the Champions League home opener. We see Chelsea return to Premier League action with an away trip to Old Trafford to face a struggling Manchester United side. And as I said in the match review for the Bayern Munich match, it's going to be a test of the resolve and truly see how much growth the club or the team has had since Enzo Maresca has been in charge. Just to see the growth of the team, the players, and the manager, to see how they respond to a defeat like this. Because, we were all very positive to begin the season, obviously heading into the international break. But now, after a tough late draw to Brentford and then a defeat to Bayern Munich, if Chelsea go into this match on Saturday and don't get 3 points or struggle their way to a draw, the narrative could change very quickly about the potential for Chelsea's season. I, for one, am pretty optimistic for this match. I do think the team will come away with 3 points, but if they happen to not, narratives change pretty quickly in the world of sport. I want to start with some team news, actually. So we're going to start with Manchester United, just because we aren't as familiar. Or me personally, I'm just not following them the same way that I am Chelsea. It looks like Mason Mount and Matheus Cunha are available. Will be back in the squad. If I had to guess, Matheus Cunha is going to probably, I think, start. Just because, they've been struggling to start the season, obviously, as we all know. And Rubin Amorim is coming under some pressure from the fans, although he retains support from the club and the board. We'll see how far that support goes if they continue to struggle. Hopefully, Chelsea can add to that. But if I'm being very neutral about this match, I think they'll be up for it, and I hope that just doesn't result in anything other than 3 points for Chelsea. I think Lisandro Martinez is still out, as is Diogo Dalot. So in defense, it'll probably be largely the same. I imagine Lenny Euro, Luke Shaw, and Matthias de Ligt keep their place in midfield, if I had to guess, because it's the same as always. It'll probably be Casemiro and Bruno as a double pivot. Dorgu at left wing back. I imagine Ahmad plays right wing back, and then I think Sesko, Brian Mbeumo, and Cunha end up being the striker in the 2-10s. That's Rubin Amorim's preferred lineup, and so that's what I'm expecting to see. Hopefully there are no surprises that turn out in their favor. As for Chelsea, the manager in his pre-match press conference said that they're going to have one training session before the match to assess the players. Since traveling, they hadn't really, obviously a travel day, and then just not much time to train. And in terms of fitness, I mean, it looks like Cole Palmer will be okay to start. He looked really good. He was, I think, probably Chelsea's best player midweek in the Champions League, with that beautiful finish to bring it back to 2-1. And then in the second half, that disallowed goal, offside goal, where it was a really, really, really cool finish to get around Neuer. And him being offside, I don't think was his fault. But in any case, it's clear that he's by far the most potent and attacking, I should say, the engine for the team offensively. João Pedro obviously has looked really, really good as well, but he looked pretty tired midweek, I would have to say. And so, it's going to be a little bit of a tough one going into this match. I do, as an aside though, I don't know if any of you saw Giovanni Quenda. If you guys don't know who that is, he is somebody who Chelsea have purchased from Sporting in Portugal, and they played in the Champions League. and he looked incredible admittedly against the side who aren't necessarily on their level. They also have a young striker who is going to be on Chelsea's books soon enough, but Quenda looked very, very bright, and it's kind of weird. We have so many left-footed attacking players, either at the club or attached to the club in some way. You know, Cole Palmer, Pedro Neto, Quenda, obviously, Kendry Paez at Strasbourg, Quenda. So it's kind of awkward. I think our right-hand side and our central attacking midfield side are much stronger than our left is proving to be, which is, you would think it would kind of be the other way around. I'm not sure, but in any case, that's besides the point. Quickly, my prediction, I'm going to say that Chelsea win this match 1-0. I think it's a repeat of the home fixture from last season where Reece James had that beautiful turn and kind of done Garnacho dirty. We'll get onto him in a second with that little scoop turn and then the cross into Cucurella's path, who headed it home towards the end of last season that helped secure us Champions League. And so I think that's probably the result that we are going to see, just because I think Manchester United are going to struggle to create chances, if I had to imagine. Although against a team like ours, where we're a little vulnerable in transition, I still think with the way they're struggling, they'll do well to get more than, I think, a goal or two. Hopefully I'm not wrong and I didn't just jinx it. But yeah, I think it'll be a 1-0, a semi-comfortable 1-0 where it could be 2 or 3, but we settle for 1-0. As for the starting lineup, I think there will be a couple changes to the starting 11 if I had to guess. Starting with the keeper, I think that's the one thing is going to stay consistent until I think Lincoln City next week, which is when I think Philip Jorgensen gets his first start. But Rob Sanchez retains his place in goal. At left back, Marc Cucurella remains. Central center back is where I think we see a little bit of rotation. I think it'll be Tosin and Wesley Fofana who will play at center back. Now, I think just in general, the pecking order, Tosin kind of is actually third in terms of talent and ability of those 3 center backs. But he is the most consistent central center back in the team, which is why I think he will start, because he plays a key role for Chelsea, as Enzo Maresca has pointed out a few weeks back. And so I think he retains his place as a central center back and then is deputized by Josh Achimpong. I think that's how it'll go moving forward. And then the justification for Wesley Fofana coming in for Trevor Chalobah, I just think after conceding 3 to Bayern and then 2, although in weird circumstances, to Brentford, with Wesley Fofana coming back to full fitness, getting a 45-minute cameo last week against Brentford, I think he will probably be given the opportunity to start, if I had to guess. And with the team looking a little tired midweek, I just think there'll be a couple spots where there are rotation. So that's my justification for having Wesley Fofana start at central center back. At right back, I'm going to say Reece James starts at right back. He was brought off at around like 60 minutes or something like that midweek, and then didn't start the week before. I think he'll be in line to start in his natural position and actually form a back 3 in possession, with Marc Cucurella being the one to invert, in the same way that we saw in the home fixture last season against Manchester United, that 1-0 that I mentioned previously, because it worked last season, and frankly, I think it will work again. So I think Reece James starts at right back. In midfield, I'm going to go with Moises Caicedo and Andre Santos, just because Enzo Fernandez and Reece James did a lot of hard running in midfield midweek, which is why I don't think Reece James starts in midfield again. I think he drops down to right back and starts there to minimize his running a little bit to help him out. And then Enzo Fernandez just week in, week out, being almost a box-to-box midfielder for the team. I think he deserves a rest and an opportunity to make an impact off the bench. And Andre Santos, we've seen glimpses of him playing very well. That clip ball on the offside goal to Cole Palmer midweek was to him. A little hesitation caused by him caused Cole Palmer to be offside, but we've seen glimpses, and I think he, in a spot like this, he should be able to step up and start and perform well for the side. As for Moises Caicedo, I just don't think there's an opportunity right now for him to rest. I think that will come midweek versus Lincoln in the Carabao. So I think he'll just have to push through this match and give a full 90 minutes. Because until Romeo Lavia is back healthy, which he isn't yet, and then Dario Sugo out long term, he's just not going to be getting an opportunity to rest too much, unfortunately. So those are my midfield partners. Now, I think the two nailed on starters for the weekend, I think, are João Pedro at striker and Cole Palmer either at the 10 or at right wing. Now, depending on your preference, he could play both roles, Cole Palmer. I think for this match, I think Estevao starts on the right, and I think he holds the width there. I think Alejandro Garnacho gets his first start for the club on the left, and then João Pedro, obviously, the 9. Now, my justification for that is that I think in his pre-match press conference, Enzo Maresca mentioned that Alejandro Garnacho is probably ready to start at this point, and with Jamie Gittins failing to impress too much to begin the season, I think he will get the start, and then I think Pedro Neto, while I think does a really good job of helping out defensively, especially when he's on the same side of Reece James, I think there's an opportunity there just to get some fresh blood and maybe try out some new partnerships against a struggling side. So I think Pedro, and plus, come second half, if it's still a tight match, we need a decider, some new energy. I think Pedro Neto coming in fresh would really help the team on Saturday. So that's what I think of the starting 11. João Pedro picks himself at the 9, and I think he's helped out tremendously when Cole Palmer is playing behind him. And there's not really another option right now unless you want to start Pedro Neto at striker. Mark Yu, who, while I think will be on the side, and the manager was asked about Mark Yu, I just don't think in this sort of spot he'll be trusted. Think he's going to be one of the candidates to be given an opportunity in the cup tie next midweek. And so that's where we're going from here. Personally, I did predict a 1-0 win. I'm pretty optimistic that it'll be a semi-comfortable one where Manchester United don't really threaten that much. Obviously, I could be wrong. I mean, against Bayern, it was an own goal, a penalty given away, and, a giveaway and build-up due to a bad touch from Malo Gusto. So you never know. Something like that could happen this weekend. Obviously, I would hope that it wouldn't, but you never know. And part of the reason for my optimism is because those 3 goals, I think, were all self-inflicted. They were all avoidable. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in my match review versus Bayern, but that one, when after Sacha Boey came on and he played the ball, I think Harry Kane made a run down the channel on the right-hand side. Sacha Boey played the ball in, and Harry Kane cut it back. It was that great save that Robert Sanchez had, where Michael Olise probably should have done better with the finish, but Rob Sanchez did a great job getting across and saving that shot. If that type of goal happened 3 times and you lose 3-1 to a side like Bayern, I would think, okay, well, we were completely outplayed and we just aren't at that level. I think, frankly, it's the opposite. And somebody like Cole Palmer, he did mention that in his post-match interview, where this match is not a learning curve. They're coming in here to try to, win these matches, and they believe in themselves. And so I think even though it was a little bit of a tired performance at the midweek, and there's no excuse for losing that type of match, obviously Bayern Munich put those chances away. Harry Kane with a good finish on that third goal. And then that first goal, Michael Olise put the ball in the dangerous area and never know what could happen. You make your own luck in that situation. And then same thing with the penalty. Harry Kane positioned himself well. Moises Caicedo was on the wrong side, tried to reach around and missed the ball. So while they were beaten comfortably in the end and they looked tired in the second half, I don't think that's any real cause for concern. And I think they'll prove that right this weekend with a 1-0 victory at Old Trafford. In any case, it was a quick one today. Well, not really. It's about the average time for when I have these, what length I have these videos. But I will be back with a match review. I think I'm going to catch the first half. And hopefully the second half I'll watch a little bit later. So maybe the review won't come out immediately after the match. Unless something changes. We'll see. But in any case, if you've come across this video, I appreciate you watching, and I will see y'all after the match.